Hello and welcome to Deep Cuts the Game, the movie trivia podcast where I give my three contestants three different movies and they try to come up with the most random, obscure, or minor actors they can think of. The deeper the cut, the more points they get. I'm your host, Jeff Penn, and with me as always, the other Moffat brother, Alex Young. Welcome to the show, Alex. Yeah, I know. People are like, what the fuck are the Moffat brothers?
Deeply specific reference.
Yeah, it's for Canadian. They were Canadian, and for our guests, the Moffats were four brothers. I don't know if they were like all. I don't know what.
They were essentially like Canada's Hanson.
They were Canada's Hanson, and actually, you know what? They do have like one banger. Like they've got one decent song. I think it was like,
but it's not Mbop, so who cares?
No, it's not Mbop. But you could be a Moffat. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty good. How are you? How was your weekend? It was Super Bowl weekend. I assume you hosted a big Super Bowl party and watched it.
No, but I did check in every once in a while just to see what the score was, and I don't want to rub it in our guest's face because they are from that general area. But one team got smoked, and nothing against them, but it was kind of nice to see.
Yep. Boy, this is not where I thought this was going to go at all.
My last name is Penn, so the only thing I can really say is Philadelphia is from Pennsylvania, and I will take that as a win for me.
A bunch of nonsense. So yeah. I did not watch it. Obviously, I did not watch the football season finale. I didn't watch any of it. I'd be lost. I don't know what's going on. But it got me thinking, Jeff, because I know you are a baseball guy. Mm-hmm. And those are the only two sports movies that I like are baseball related.
Yes, Moneyball and A League of Their Own.
That is 100% right. Yes. Yep. Those are the two sports movies that I own.
Which I would say are probably like, I don't know about A League of Their Own, but I know Moneyball is like one of the most unrealistic and tells like the worst part of that story. And
listen,
I know you don't.
I was on the edge of my seat. I did not know how that movie ended. It was so exciting. Anyway, it got me thinking about sports themed horror movies. And if that's like a thing, and it sort of is. I was doing a bit of research and it's like the first thing comes off cut all that out so I don't sound like an idiot. The first thing that comes up, obviously, is Teen Wolf, but hardly a horror movie.
I mean, he plays basketball, and then Teen Wolf 2, I think he's a boxer, isn't he? I think in Teen Wolf 2. Yeah.
And you get a lot of genre thrillers, like Swim Fan, you get like, or The Fan.
The Fan with Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro. And then I was going to say there is a Roy Scheider film that's also a baseball thriller movie where a serial killer keeps killing people after like the Houston Astros win a game. And I haven't watched it.
But you love baseball, Jeff.
I love baseball and serial killers and Roy Scheider. So I'm not sure why.
This should be your favorite movie of all time.
It might be. I will watch it later tonight.
But I did more digging because The Faculty came up, which I love, but I'm like, that's not really a sports movie so much. But I did find two, and I watched one of them like an hour ago. Okay. So the first one, which I couldn't find, but it was the one that I preferred because it's called Sorority Babes in Slimeball Bolorama from 1988. And I love that some of our guests are nodding like they are familiar with this movie.
Yes.
Which is great. When we bring them on, please talk about it because I have the log line here, Jeff, which is, as part of a sorority ritual, pledges and their male companions steal a trophy from a bowling alley. Unbeknownst to them, it contains a devilish imp who makes their lives a living hell. What? That sounds like a masterpiece. That is totally something you and I would have watched on Bad Movie Night and loved.
Yep.
But the one I watched today from 1984, which has three titles, which that's how you know it's great.
Yeah.
Killing Touch was one of them. Olympic Nightmare, but it was on Shudder as Fatal Games from 1984.
Oh, okay.
Which again, yes, our guest on this movie, great. It's like Fame. It's like the high school from Fame, but for wannabe Olympic athletes.
Okay.
So already I'm like out. I'm like, if you're not singing, I don't want to be in that school. But then a bunch of people are getting killed by very well thrown javelins.
Oh, hey, didn't we watch a horror film where all the athletes were getting killed in high school as well?
Yes, but I think that was Graduation Day.
It might have been. And I know no one says it, but I feel like somebody should yell, Graduation Day! Much
in the same way they say Garbage Day?
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Anyway, Fatal Games was terrible, and I loved it.
Well, I'm sorry we don't do our bad movie night anymore.
Man, we already spend too much time together. Another day watching movies, I can't do it. It'd be too much. But feel free to bring in our guests, because like if they want to talk about Fatal Games,
because I was going to say I have nothing left to add, but so let's bring in our guests, Alex. Joining us today on Deep Cuts the Game are two voices who live and breathe horror: Julie Holland and Nick Spacek, the hosts of the Carnage Report podcast. Their show dives deep into all things horror, from the latest release to genre classics. With their keen insights and passion for the fearsome, they're here to talk horror and play a game of deep cuts that just might be horror related. Welcome to the show, Julie and Nick. Thanks very much for being here.
Hello, thanks for having
us. So how familiar with those two films are you?
We did an episode on Fatal Games.
Well, there you go.
It's episode 56, and we discussed the very, very problematic ending to that movie.
Oh my God. Yes. I did not expect it.
I think we can spoil it if you want, Alex. Like, I don't think
doesn't age well.
I mean, it's 41
not,
years
especially in today's
old,
political climate. It like is even worse a little bit.
Okay, so maybe we're not gonna even say it. Just it's on Tubi. You said
it's
right?
on. It's on
or is it
Shudder.
on Shudder?
Okay, Shudder.
And it's on Plex and a couple other things as well.
Okay.
It has a very, very nice Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray, which is why we did it.
Oh, I mean, they always release. All their releases are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited to have you two here because I think Alex and I were talking with one of our guests a few shows ago, and just how horror podcasts seem to be the big podcast. Like, if you're doing a film podcast and you're going to be into one genre, horror seems to be the way to go. There's not a whole lot of rom-com podcasts or musical podcasts, but horror. So why horror for you two? And what got you started in it? Nick, Julie, whoever wants to go first.
Well, I mean, I think Julie should tell the story because it was her idea, and I was just like, okay, I have an idea.
Yeah. So I had a horror podcast that I regularly listened to that like kept me up on new horror, and then they stopped putting them out, and I tried to listen to some others, and they didn't quite have what I wanted, and so I tweeted my disappointment about it, and some people said, well, then you should do one. And I said, well, I don't have the skills to do the technical stuff. I would need a partner. And Nick said, how about me? And Nick and I have like sort of been friendly acquaintances for probably like 20 years, but not like, we didn't hang out or anything. We just knew each other from around and knew each other from the internet and knew each other from the music scene and movie stuff. And so, yeah, we've been doing our podcast and getting to know each other. I think the reason people do horror podcasts is because horror encompasses all the other genres. You can have, rom-com horror, comedy,
yeah.
drama, musicals. They're all there. And then also people die in graphic ways. And that's what we want to see. If you're going to make me feel my feelings, I also want someone to lose their head.
Because I was just listening to one of your more recent episodes, because I believe your episodes are every 2 weeks. So I was just listening to the Wolfman episode, and you were doing some of the new releases, and you were talking about Hard Eyes, which will be a perfect Valentine's Day movie, because yes, you can either go and watch couples get killed, or if you're a couple, you can go home and be scared with your partner, kind of thing. So it's a win-win, which you guys suggested. So perfect. So, but Nick, before we get too far into it, you said something on that episode, and I gotta air my grievances with what you said. You used the term "out of pocket," and you used it in the reference to someone acting weird. And I hate that so much. Because you seem old enough to know that out of pocket means only that you're having to pay for something on your own. And it doesn't mean either. What's the other way? It means like not being available.
Yeah.
And I was like,
of mine too, Jeff. Honestly, I let that slide with Nick because we're buddies, but it is a pet peeve of mine too.
Yeah, it would be like saying like, we all know the phrase like oopsie daisy, but if somebody's like, well, no, now oopsie daisy means, I'd be like, no, you're not messing around with oopsie daisy. Out of pocket's old enough. Bring it back. But anyway, that was my only beef with the show.
I work a job where I am frequently one of the oldest people at work. So unfortunately, what do you call it? Code switching.
Yes.
Yeah, and I start talking like a Gen Zer. I'm
In
not
your
proud
defense,
of it.
in your defense, our marketing team at my work is all like under 30, and I'm noticing that gap more and more as I get older, and they use so many acronyms even in email or like Slack messages to the point where I'm like, I have to sit and look at it in context and figure out what it is. But I was talking to somebody today, Doris, which her name just fully, you can know exactly who Doris is because her name's Doris. And she replied to someone in a request and was like, hey, what's this acronym mean? They're like, oh, that was just a typo. That's not an actual acronym. But we spent 5 minutes. I'm like, maybe it means like thank you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. No, it was just a mistake, and we're old and dumb. That's what.
But at this point, the acronyms are actually making you spend more time figuring out what they're talking about.
That's right.
Because, okay, so the Carnage Report is a bit of a bunch of different things. You guys talk about like new horror things coming out, whether it's to streaming or to the theaters. But you also do reviews of recent horror films. I know you both just watched The Wolfman, and I don't want to be mean to The Wolfman, but it didn't sound like either one of you liked it all that much. Alex, you also saw The Wolfman in 4DX, if I'm not mistaken.
Bafflingly in 4DX.
Now, you did not give me a review of it, but based on your tone, it did not sound like you liked it very much
in the 4DX, which has never happened before.
Yikes.
So even as your chair was getting moved around,
well,
you're
that's
like,
the thing. It's so much like you guys saw it. So much of that movie is like dialogue and stress and like people being sick on a bed. It's just still. You're still for 20 minutes at a time. Anyway, that's all.
So what else can we find from the Carnage Report and from like, I guess, this bigger podcast community that you're part of, the Cinepunks podcast group? Tell me about you guys, and tell me about Cinepunks as much as you can.
Cinepunks, it originally started out two guys, Liam O'Donnell and Josh Alvarez, started a podcast called Cinepunks, and then gradually various other podcasts have become part of the network. As like one of the shirts they have, it's like definitely a podcast, maybe a community, probably not a hippie kill cult, but yeah, no, it's a collective of people who have like all kind of like, a lot of folks were originally from like Philadelphia, like the Lehigh Valley and stuff like that, and came up in the punk scene and like also movies. And it's just kind of turned into like this group of people who have all kind of randomly found each other via social media, and just everybody, like there's a Discord. You can join it. Send us an email. We'll get you to be part of it because it's super fun. Like we ended up we did a bonus episode for the Patreon about Agatha All Along, because a conversation in the Discord channel turned out so well that we were just like, should we just get together and just record like an hour of this so we can just like put it all in one spot? And it was maybe like one of the most fun evenings I've had like over the last year. But yeah, it's like so many different podcasts over so many different topics, movie, film related for the most part. But I mean, just, all kinds of different aspects. And it's a delightful group of people that I'm really glad that I've gotten to meet.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, so I'm going to ask you like a horror movie question. I have movies that I love. Like Alex loves bad movies. And okay, I don't want to say bad movies, but Alex loves movies that don't deserve to be as loved as much as they do. Like, for instance, like Alex loves anything like Armageddon or Con Air. And granted, hey,
because they're great, man.
Sure. But you love like they're the greatest movies of all time, more so than you just appreciate the fun. But that's fine. Hey, everyone's got that type of movie they like. I'm just wondering for the two of you, what is kind of your lesser known horror movie that you're like, that's my jam. Most people don't know about it, but if you're at a bar and you hear someone talking about it and you're like, are you talking about this movie? Like what is your kind of secret horror movie jam?
I don't know if it's unknown or not, but I have a Motel Hell pin that's on my jean jacket, and when someone recognizes it, I know that we're good.
Yeah, your kindred spirits. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. What about you, Nick?
There's a movie that came out 10-ish years ago called Detention that was recommended to me as it starts off a little slow and weird, but when the time traveling bear shows up, you're gonna love it. And they were right. And it is a movie that I delight in showing people because you have no idea where it's going to go. And it's one of those movies that, yeah, like, again, if you like it, I know we're going to get along great.
I was at a party one time and I was talking to this person and we were getting along very well. This is 20 some odd years ago. We're getting along really well. And I mentioned something, and this is not horror related, but I was like, oh, I just saw the Royal Tenenbaums and I loved it. And they looked at me like, meh, didn't really like it. And the conversation ended there. I was like, well, and I literally turned and started talking to other. And it was like, you don't have to like that movie. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I knew at that moment that was the end of that conversation. And I was just, I'm going to spend my time talking to someone else. Oh, I wanted to ask you guys, because you were talking about the new movie based on the video game Until Dawn. And because you guys both, you're not video game players, so you were a little surprised about this movie coming out. You didn't know much about it. Does anybody know who's in that movie? I'm just wondering if the cast of the movie is as good as the game.
The game is a way better cast. Although Peter Stormare is in the movie again in a different role.
Okay, because the game had
him as the narrator.
It was like Hayden Panettiere, Rami Malek, and the guy from Brett Dalton from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, oh, that's a very good video game cast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, how did the movie do? And you guys didn't list who was in it. And I was like, it's probably not as good, other than Peter Stormare.
Now, to be fair, sometimes when we get to cast listings and we don't list them, it is frequently because they are actors from shows that we are not familiar with because they are for like late teen 20-somethings.
Which, yes, fair enough. Until Dawn is probably skewing teenager, right? So
the number of times we've talked about actors or actresses that were just like, they're amazing, that we've never seen in anything because like we don't watch
Euphoria.
Yeah, Euphoria is the one where numerous folks have come out of that show and we're just like, they're amazing, and people are like, they've been great for like 3 seasons. And like, I don't watch that show because I feel like it would get me put on a list.
This feels like a direct reference to Cuckoo. Was this for Cuckoo?
The many.
And Sydney Sweeney in Immaculate.
Yeah.
She is very
well. We've got an exciting game of deep cuts for you two. 3. We'll include Alex. I don't really care about it as much.
All right.
But the first thing we do is I'm going to ask you to try to guess what movie am I thinking of. There's no hints or anything like that. It's just a movie that I thought of. I will tell you this. Here's a hint.
No hints. Here's a hint.
No hints. Here's a hint. Carnage Report. And I just kept thinking Carnage. And I thought of a movie. Carnage is not in the name of this movie, but when I think of this movie, I think of Carnage. Okay? So, Julie, what movie am I thinking of?
Jaws.
Yeah, a lot of carnage in Jaws.
That's all I guess.
Nick, what movie am I thinking of?
Death Race 2000.
Yeah, tons of carnage. Alex, what movie am I thinking of?
Rollerball. Either version of it.
Okay, I was like, that's very close to Death Race. No. So the movie I was thinking of, I don't know what year it's from, but Green Room.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
A lot of carnage in that one. Just a lot of broken limbs and just blood everywhere. But Nick, I'm gonna go with you. I feel like there might have been a green room for the Death Race racers at some point. So would you like to go first, second, or third in this game of deep cuts?
Second.
Very good. And Julie, I always favor the guest over Alex. So would you like to go first or third?
I'm gonna say third.
Oh, that's Alex's favorite spot.
It is, but I will take first.
And I know it means back-to-back picks because I've done
it does
research by listening to some episodes.
All right,
to figure out what I'm in.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the 3 movies. So you both gave me a list of some of your favorite movies. I do try to incorporate them into the game if I can. Unfortunately, most horror films don't have big cast for the most part, and I think we've already done some of them. And then you did give me some of your non-horror films. So I've taken one of those. So that might leave Nick out of the loop a little bit, unless he's also seen this movie. But the other two movies are horror. One of them was on both of your favorite horror films from 2024. And the other one's another year older, but I'm sure you've both seen it. I'm sure, Alex, you've seen all three of these.
Good.
So you actually might be primed well for this one. So first up, not a very big cast, but from 2024, Abigail. Then going back an extra year from 2023, Scream 6.
Boy.
And if everybody was wondering which one was that, I believe they're in New York City for that one.
So that's the most
And
recent
then
one.
it's the most recent one. And then from 2001, and this was on someone's list of their favorite movies, so hopefully I got the right one, Wet Hot American Summer. Not the miniseries or the other miniseries, but the original movie. While you're thinking of some names to do some deep cuts on, let's hear a word from our sponsors. Movie buffs and collectors, this one's for you. MoviePosters.com offers an incredible selection of posters for every taste, from obscure indies to your blockbuster favorites.
Want a poster for The Longest Yard, The Good One, or the Adam Sandler one?
They've got both.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka, or just Wonka?
They have all options in a variety of sizes.
Go to MoviePosters.com and use the promo code DEEPCUTS15 to get 15% off your next order.
All right, we are back with Deep Cuts with our friends from the Carnage Report, Julie and Nick. But in this instance, Alex, you're on the chopping block first. What is your first deep cut from either Abigail, Scream 6, or Wet Hot American Summer? Oh, and just a reminder, there is only one crossover between these three movies. Only one person who appears in more than one. So do with that as you will.
In Abigail, at the very end, he's not in very much, Matthew Good pops up for like a scene.
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. He is, of all the people in that film, he's worth the most points because he is on the screen.
I figured.
The least amount of time. He's still not worth a ton of points, though, Alex. So he is 9 points for Matthew Good.
I'll take it. Good start. Good start, me.
Taking him off the board so no one else can get him either. Nick, what is your first deep cut?
Not necessarily deep cut, but I'm going to go because they're in two movies. I'm going to go with Melissa Barrera because they're in both Abigail and Scream 6.
She is.
Well done.
She is 3 points for both movies. So she is a total of 6 points. But once again, sometimes just taking other names off the board that you know other people might be drawn to, not a bad play. Now, Julie, as you mentioned before, this is the hot seat where you're going to have to make 2 picks in a row. So hopefully you've got 2 really good deep cuts. I have a feeling you do because Wet Hot American Summer is your movie.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling you've got something good.
I've seen that one thousands of times, I think, and the other just once or twice a piece. So we'll see. But I'm gonna start with Scream 6. I'm gonna take Samara Weaving.
Good. Very good. Yeah. You know what? I was thinking this might be a smart play by you because if you think you can run Wet Hot American Summer and take all the big ones from there, you take all those big points from Scream, leaving Alex and Nick to just pick the scraps. So that's not a bad pick there, Samara Weaving, who's really just in that opening cold open when she gets murdered. Samara Weaving for 11 points.
All right.
She's a really good Scream queen, right? Because we got what?
So
She's
good.
got Ready or Not. And then she's also in the Babysitter movies, right? Like that's her in those as well, right?
She's in Mayhem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think she's had Azrael that came out last year.
So
yeah, she's really good. All right, Julie, solid 11 points. What's your second deep cut though?
I'm gonna go with from Wet Hot American Summer, H. John Benjamin.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, as just a can of vegetables in this one. Because I did then go back and start watching the first day of camp when he's still just a guy. And it's so funny that like by the end of camp, he's like they don't explain it in the original movie. He's just a can of vegetables and his girlfriend has completely moved on. So H. John Benjamin as a voice of Can of Vegetables for 13 points. That's a solid cut, Julie. Well done. Good start. Nick, you got some ground to make up.
That was going to be my next one.
Mhm.
I'm going to go with Abigail again. I'm going to go Giancarlo Esposito because he's not in it for very much.
He's not, as the guy who kind of brings them all together. And then does he show up at the end?
I
started watching it again. I was like, I don't think I need to watch this all over again because I've seen where everyone is. I don't. So Giancarlo Esposito for 8 points, slightly less than Matthew Good, but still not a bad pick. Alex Young, I know you've seen all 3 of these movies.
I have.
And I know you were one of the guys who got me into Wet Hot American Summer. So I'm assuming you've got something there. Are you gonna
you think so, right?
Yeah.
You'd think so. You'd be wrong.
Okay.
I've got a couple, but it's not a lot for that. So I'm going to go with my deeper ones. I'm going to take a couple. I got a Scream and I got an Abigail that I want to use. Yeah. I don't know his name in Scream 6.
Okay.
I want to say his name's like Tony Ravioli, but like surely that's not his name. It can't possibly be his name. It's the kid from Servant.
Yeah, and he's also in the Spider-Man's movie. He's Flash.
Yeah, he's Flash Thompson.
It's weird that you went to Servant. Like, yes, I know it's like
he's
a horror.
Every episode.
Is he in every episode?
Yes. He's like
Tony.
They start the pizza place together that you love. It's like your favorite gag in that whole show.
It is. Yeah, I do love that episode when they start the pizza place and like they got to make it really good pizza, or otherwise people won't believe it. So yeah, I think it's Tony.
Ravioli?
It's not Ravioli. It's Reveroli or something like that. He is worth 12 points, Alex.
Right.
12 points for Tony. What's your third deep cut?
So I'm assuming as far as like the main cast in Abigail.
Oh, is this one of your stupid questions where you try to let
No.
me...
Because I assume we're now at the point where everybody has more or less the same amount of screen time. So if they die earlier, they might be worth a point more.
And maybe also you got to think there's a couple people in Abigail that
are less famous than others.
People don't know their real names, so you would probably have to know something else they were in. Yes.
So speaking of Euphoria, I will take Angus Cloud.
Yes, as the getaway driver, essentially, in Abigail, also in Euphoria, and then recently passed away, I think last year, if I'm not mistaken. Angus Cloud for 7 points, Alex. As yes, he has more screen time, and I knew you would know him from Euphoria, because you're not ashamed to watch that show.
Nah.
I mean, it's a good show, but
it's
I do
feel full show that exists.
I feel really gross after watching most of the episodes, though. Like, I don't like what our children are up to. Nick, you got your third deep cut.
I don't know if they're a deep cut at this point. That's what kills me in Scream 6. And I don't think they are, so I'm not going to go with that. It's killing me because the name escapes me at this point.
Can you think of anything else that they are in?
Oh, yes, like our absolute favorite detective from Law & Order, SVU, Elliot Stabler.
Yep.
You're right.
You're good. That's Chris Maloney.
Yes.
For once again for 7 points there for Chris. As the crazy chef that is actually talking to the can of vegetables. Other than Law & Order, what would be his big go-to? I guess...
he had that show Happy that was on Sci-Fi that was so good.
Yeah. And then
sadly canceled early on. We got 2 seasons. We got early David Dastmalchian in that, though.
That's right.
And that's great.
And then I think he's in... what's the one where he's... Is it like Harold and Kumar or something like that he's in? And
is he in one of those?
He's in one of those because I think what's her name, Malin Ackerman, is also in it.
Oh yeah, no, he's in the first one.
He's in the first one, but he doesn't look like himself. He's got like a lot of prosthetic makeup on.
Yeah, he's the crazy guy who's like, yeah, go ahead and fuck my wife.
Yeah, I think he's called like Freak Show or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So, Chris Maloney for 7 points. Julie, what is your third deep cut? And then I'll give you guys a breakdown of the points at the halfway mark.
Okay. This one's not a deep cut in life, but I'm hoping he counts as a deep cut in this movie, which is Bradley Cooper in Wet Hot American Summer.
Bradley Cooper, yeah, who actually not in it a ton.
Maybe no spoken lines, I don't think.
No, he definitely does. Because they are putting on the musical... because they want to do the musical, like they're going to do a whole musical on the last day that they've just started rehearsing, and then he also gets married.
Yeah, but I don't know that he actually says any words. He's mostly nonverbal.
He does.
He's got some lines. So Bradley Cooper for 7 points.
Okay.
Because yes, like you said, in life he's not that deep of a cut, but he is a small part. And then replaced in 10 years. Is he replaced in The Last Day of Camp, or is it just 10 years later with Adam Scott?
I want to say he's just replaced in the show.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Which is, I think, because he had like a deviated septum, so he had to get a nose job.
Mm-hmm.
That they're writing it off that's how Bradley Cooper became Adam Scott. It's just he had a nose job. All right, so at the halfway point, Julie, you're looking at 31 points. Nick, you're at 21 points. And Alex, 19 plus 9 is 28. So we have a very close game with Julie in the lead. Well done, Julie. What is your fourth deep cut, though?
Okay, I hope I'm not mixing up my recent Scream movies and my vague actors. I'm pretty sure Dermot Mulroney is in Scream 6.
He is, yeah. He's one of the 95 killers in this.
Spoilers.
It's a little ridiculous at this point. Like, yes, Dermot Mulroney or 10 points. Very solid. Yeah, I can't say I like this last Scream. I think it was just too many killers for me.
I enjoyed that one more than the fifth one, which felt a little mean to me.
I think my problem with Scream 6 is like they go on and on about the core four, and it's like, yeah, one of you needs to die.
But
like
the good news is the new Scream will have everyone who's ever acted.
Yes, correct.
Well, yeah, hopefully they kill some of them, because in Scream 6, nobody important dies. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Nick, what is your fourth deep cut?
Okay, I'm torn. I have like two I want to do, and I'm afraid that like one might not be worth as many points as I think it could be. Actually, I'm not quite sure about either of these. So I'm going to go with Wet Hot American Summer, and I'm going to say Amy Poehler.
Amy Poehler, the fake love interest of Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper's was worth 7. Amy Poehler's worth 6, as she does have a little bit more screen time, a little more lines going on there. But it's a solid cut for 6 points. Alex, your fourth and your fifth.
I do a couple swings on these from Scream 6 because I, like Julie, might be confusing it with Scream 5.
Okay.
But I'm sure it happens at least once, and I might get 2 X's on these. Is the guy whose name I forget, does he have a small... Oh, say more.
The guy whose name I forget.
You know, that guy's name I forget, who's worth 20 points? No, from the first Scream, but he's also like the dad in Riverdale. He's very famous. What's his name?
Yeah, Skeet Ulrich does
Thank you.
have a little flashback.
Pops up again in the 6th one?
Yeah, he's worth 9 points, Alex.
Damn it! That was my other one.
So 9 points for Skeet. Alex, what is your fifth deep cut?
He
had another swing.
Yeah, this one's a bigger swing because if he's in it, it might even be like an uncredited, he's just in archive footage.
Okay.
But is Jack Quaid on like the videotape at the end? Shit. All right.
No, unfortunately, Jack Quaid is not even an uncredited.
That's too bad.
Good try. Good try. Leaving the door open here for Julie to run away with it, though. But first, we're back to Nick. Alex took your Skeet Ulrich. Do you have anything else for your fifth deep cut?
I feel like everything at this point, I'm just like hoping they're in the movie less than I think they are.
Yeah.
You know what? Wet Hot American Summer. I'm gonna say Elizabeth Banks.
That's solid. You know what? She's not in it a lot. She's
barely.
not. Yeah, she just makes out with someone a whole bunch. And then does
like
she
burgers.
Does she not show up in the series and she's a reporter for like Rolling Stone magazine? Like in one of the series, someone shows up and they're a reporter. And I was like, but I think that's on the first day of camp. But then by the end of camp, if she's like 28, she's making out with like a theoretically 17-year-old on the last day of camp. And they've completely forgotten that she was a reporter looking for her big story. So Elizabeth Banks for 10 points, Nick, sorry. That's 10 for Nick. That's a solid cut. Julie, you've got your last two. You're in the lead. You got a chance to lock this one up. What is your fifth deep cut?
All right. I'm just going to go back to the wet hot well with Janine Garofalo.
Jean Garofalo, she's not a ton because she is kind of like the face of that movie. She is she's married or was married to a can of vegetables. So she's worth 5 points for Janine. Because it's one of those weird movies like the star of that movie, most people don't know his name for the most part, but people do know Janine. So 5 for Janine. And what is your final deep cut, Julie?
I'm gonna go with Molly Shannon. Also, it's probably not a lot.
It's more than Janine because she's got an even smaller part. And my favorite part is at the end she leaves with like a 9-year-old boy. If I'm not mistaken, they're gonna go start their lives. So Molly Shannon for 8 points. Very well done, Nick. You have your final deep cut. I think there's an opportunity, Nick, if you've got something big. There is a hidden deep cut in Wet Hot American Summer that is gonna blow people's brains. Like honestly, and especially when you combine it into the horror world, I could have easily done a connection to horror movies with this person in it, and horror movies from the last 5 years.
I like that say that after Julie has gone, who's like the Wet Hot American Summer expert. Seems rude.
I think if she knew it, she would have said it already. Like this is pretty deep. So Nick, what is your final deep cut?
Wet Hot American Summer, David Hyde Pierce.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. So a little more than Janine Garofalo. As they essentially are in every scene together. He is 6 to Janine's 5. So it's a solid cut. Alex Young. You blew it when you threw up Jack Quaid.
Yeah. Well.
You're just playing for respect now. What's your final deep cut?
I mean, it was going to be David Hyde Pierce, genuinely. Okay. So I will go back to Scream. And as much as I do want to shout out the Canadian connection and Abigail, I will do Scream, and I will take Hayden Panettiere.
Hayden Panettiere, yes. For 9 points as the cop who we're not sure if she's actually still a cop or is she working off blah, 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 blah. So 9 points for Hayden. Let me give you what you missed before we give you the final scores. Obviously, Abigail, you picked out most of the ones. Like Dan Stevens was not going to be worth a lot. Kevin Durant, Catherine Newton. The two kind of like bigger points one would have been the girl who plays Abigail, like if anybody could remember her name, or that she is in the Matilda musical as Matilda. Her name is Alicia Weir. And then the guy who is the sniper, the military expert that kind of befriends Melissa Barrera, his name is William Cutlet. And really the biggest thing is he was in the Black Lightning TV series. And he was not the star of that. So that's why he was actually worth more points. Scream 6, you guys did very good. Alex, you forgot about Roger Jackson.
Of course.
Not a ton of points anymore. At this point, he's like worth 10. But it's solid. Henry Czerny, Canadian actor from all the Mission Impossible films. I believe is like a psychiatrist that gets killed. And then I cannot verify this, but he is on IMDb uncredited as ghost-faced on the subway as comedic actor Akiva Schaffer from all of Andy Samberg's and stuff like that. So I don't think you ever see
Lonely Island.
Yeah, so I was like, that would have been a big one. All right, so Wet Hot American Summer. So many people in this movie. Nobody says Michael Scholater because most people don't know his name, but he is like the star of that movie. Paul Rudd would have been worth like 1 point. The girl who is Paul Rudd's girlfriend in that, her name is Marguerite Moreau. She's from all the Mighty Ducks movies.
Nice.
She's like the backup goalie in all the Mighty Ducks movies from the 90s. The guy 80 Miles, he's kind of like the red hair guy that helps cooking with Chris Maloney. Yeah, he's from Role Models. Ken Marino, Joe Latroglio. Michael Ian Black is Bradley Cooper's husband. So they get married at the end. Kevin Sussman from The Big Bang Theory, the comic book store guy, is the weird guy who like I talk like an alien. Judah Friedlander from 30 Rock is Molly Shannon's husband, who shows up at the end to try to get her back, and she says no. Sam Levine from Freaks and Geeks is the radio announcer that we only see his voice, and we see like a 10-year-old boy as the body of him. But the super, super deep cut, when Paul Rudd is making out with Elizabeth Banks, and he keeps forgetting about kids who then keep drowning or crashing boats. And there's this little kid. Do you remember, Julie?
Yes, I do.
Who is it?
Kyle Gallner.
Kyle Gallner is the little. He's
It
in
is?
Scream. He's in Scream 5, and I could have easily done like Smile or Smile 2 or something like that. But he's the little kid in the water. He's like, "Hey, do you know where my swim buddy is?" He's like, "I don't know. Let's go for ice cream." And then he takes the kid and just throws him out of the van. And I was like, I recognize that kid. It's Kyle Gallner. So well done. I'm glad Julie at least remembered after. But
there's too many people in that cast.
Oh yeah, it's a big one. Alex, you had 28 points at the half. You picked up 18 in the second half to give you a very respectable 46 points. Nick, you were all the way back in third place with 21, but you picked up 22 in the second half to give you 43, very close to Alex. Julie, 31 points at the half, 23 in the second half for the big win at 54 points for Julie. Well done.
Very well done.
Didn't even need to get Kyle. So Julie, the unfortunate thing for the winner of the show is they get to give us a dream guest. It could be someone you know. It could be just someone you're like, you know what, who would be a cool person to come on here and talk about movies and do stuff like that. So who do you think would be a good Deep Cuts the Game edition?
Well, have our other Cinepunks brethren been on here at all?
I have not. I honestly didn't know there was a whole thing until I started kind of like trying to get in touch with you guys, and then I think they were like, "Oh, you need to email them here." So yeah, if there's somebody part of the Cinepunks group that you think would love this sort of like random actor,
Liam O'Donnell and Doug Tilley, who do Cinema Smorgasbord, would be absolutely perfect. And Doug, also Canadian, so
oh, perfect.
You guys would have that going.
So yeah, we don't have to pay him an extra 25% on the show. That'll be great.
And Jeff, they're probably not a murder cult, so it's great.
Probably not.
Yes.
No problem.
Probably not.
Very well done. So what is coming up for the Carnage Report? I just listened to your episode about the Wolfman, and then what new horror films are you guys seeing in the next couple of weeks that you're going to be talking to us about?
Our next episode is Heart Eyes.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I've heard good things about that one.
I saw it last night, and I don't want to spoil our episode, but I did love it.
Okay. Well, don't worry. Our episode won't air for a little bit, so we won't spoil you.
Spoiling my opinion for Nick, who now knows that I
okay.
it. But
okay, good. Yeah, because I read like some really good stuff about it. So
I saw it on my birthday. I thought it was fun as hell. I had a really good time.
Alex, don't spoil that for Nick either.
Oh, sorry, Nick. Shh.
I think it should be fine.
I think Nick probably knew that I was going to love it, as I know that he's going to love it. So that's fine.
Nice. Anything else, Nick? What else is coming up for the Carnage Report?
Looking ahead, like I can't speak to like specific movies because we do tend to not get those planned out that far in advance. But I do know we'll have we've got plans to do an episode previewing Kansas City's annual Panic Fest, and we will probably going forward this summer once again revisit the Chattanooga Film Festival, which I think we've done an episode on every year that we've been around because it's a blast. It's legitimately, I'm trying to figure out a way to get to Chattanooga this summer to go in person because I think we've both seen it all 5 years. It's been virtual and it is so much fun.
Is that a genre festival?
Yes, but not strictly horror, more like genre overall.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
So maybe awesome. Almost like Fantasia.
It's similar to Fantasia in Montreal. Yeah.
Where it's like a little horror, a little sci-fi, a little...
But like stuff out of Japan and like all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah. That's fun. I like that. That's a good time.
Where can people find you? I know I listen to your episodes on Spotify, but you guys are available everywhere, if I'm not mistaken.
Just about.
You can find us show notes and like trailer reels of all the stuff we cover and everything you can find in the show notes at cinepunks.com, which is CINEPUNX.
Perfect. Alex Young, what's going on with you?
I forget every week that you're going to ask me this, and I never have anything prepared. So I once again have nothing prepared other than support your local rep cinema. Buy physical media wherever you can, because then you own it. Otherwise, it will be censored or disappear. For example, Indiana Jones is not on Disney Plus anymore, and that's insane. But other than that, I got nothing else, Jeff. What about you? What you got going on? I was throwing the ball at me.
Listen, man, I organize a podcast like every week. Sometimes 4 episodes in 1 week, which is just stupid.
Dick.
Listen, I thought people would cancel. It was one of those things where I booked all these people, and I was like, well, I'm going to book 10 episodes. 2 people are going to cancel for sure. Like, it always happens. Somebody's like, oh, something came up. Nothing's coming up for anyone. They all keep showing up to do our show, which is great. But we will have some downtime soon, Alex. Trust me. Hey, Alex, the one thing I've got going. So you gave me a bunch of graphic novels and stuff like that, and then you gave me a book, the Film Noir Encyclopedia. I got to take some. Would umbrage be a correct word with that? Anyway, I flipped to the back of the book to the more recent film noirs, and the last one in the it's an encyclopedia, was Zodiac. And the person who wrote the entry on Zodiac had the gall to like pretty much tear the movie apart. And I'm like, hey, this is an encyclopedia. I didn't come here for your review of the film. And it was like very like just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So boring. And I was like, listen, I don't care if it's not for you or not. This is an encyclopedia. Just tell me about the movie. You don't have to tell me if you like it. So whoever that guy is, fuck him. And fuck what he wrote about one of my favorite movies.
Well, it wasn't me, Jeff.
No,
that's
it was
why
not
I
you.
gave you this garbage book. So enjoy it.
Well, thank you. And did you know that the year before that, there was another movie called The Zodiac? That this person went on and on about how much they like.
Oh my God.
But had Robin Tunney in it and some other people. So,
one of my favorites, Vertical Limit.
Oh my God. So this is the time in the show where Alex, my co-host, every week writes up an outro for me and sends it to me, and I see it for the first time as it arrives via text. It has just arrived. Alex, I'm not even going to look at it. What are the notes?
As you're a huge baseball fan, as I established earlier, I want you to read it in what I imagine is like baseball announcer voice, which, as you know, I've never seen an episode of baseball. So my entire touchstone for that is just the beginning of the Meatloaf song, Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
With Vin Scully doing the, okay.
Sure. So something like that, or it can be like, I don't know, 1920s, like, here they come, whatever you feel.
The fact that you don't even know who Vin Scully is just kind of bothers me.
Is he a real baseballman?
Yeah, he was like the Los Angeles Dodgers like play-by-play guy like for like 60 years. Like everything from like Jackie Robinson to like the Kirk Gibson home. Anyway, fuck man. All right. And Alex, just to let you know, I went back and redid my Green Goblin one, and it sounds so good.
Yeah, probably. Your time to practice.
I didn't. I know. Shut up. All right, here we go. And that's the game, folks. I hate when you do that, when you put the winner's name.
Well, I don't know it in advance. I'm not psychic. Start it again.
And that's the game, folks. Julie takes it, and what a nail-biter. Taking it right down to the wire. We saw some clutch hitting, some dazzling defense, and a few plays we'd rather forget. That's Deep Cuts. Thanks for joining us for another exciting contest here at the Jeff Penn Golden Arena. Baseball's not played in arenas.
Is it not?
No. We'll be back next week with more action. Be sure to tune in wherever you get your podcast. Until then, so long, and remember, keep your eye on the ball. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Where the fuck are baseball games played?